Good morning, Charlie Pierce.
Good morning, Jody Hamilton.
What are you doing with your hands? Put those away. Stop it.
Good morning, you studio freaks.
Not me.
Oh, not you?
Hi, Charlie.
Yeah.
Hi, Mommy's back. We're all back in studio. Hello.
I know. And Jamie's eating the cables.
Yes.
Yes.
Jamie, the biscuit jar is back. Okay. Charlie, we have to. Can you listen with me to Jen's? This is where I need a sake bomb because, of course, you have. Who's the deucier again of the deucies? Peter.
Peter.
Why isn't President Biden pushing for more access, more information to get to the bottom of what happened? This is Trump, right? That said, Charlie, we have 15 sound bites we can get of him praising China for how they were dealing with this, their transparency. Right. He's the only idiot that thought that. So now trying to blame that if it leaked from a Chinese lab on Biden is unbelievable. Saki yesterday.
At the Wuhan Institute of Virology were hospitalized with symptoms consistent with both COVID-19 and common seasonal illness in November of 2019. That's something that is apparently known to U.S. intel officials. So why isn't President Biden pushing for more access, more information to get to the bottom of exactly what happened?
We are, and we have repeatedly called for the WHO to support an expert-driven evaluation of the pandemic's origins that is free from interference or politicization.
And she went on to say,
he talks all the time about how he's known President Xi for a long time. So why can't he just call
and we need
ask
them
him for that information?
I think you're misunderstanding how this process actually works. An international investigation led by the World Health Organization is something that we've actually been pressing for several months in coordination with a range of partners around the world. We need that data. We need that information from the Chinese government. What we can't do, and what I would caution anyone doing, is leaping ahead of an actual international process.
Okay. Charlie, I mean, they think the real number is 900,000 dead. The latest study is they think our number is 900. I mean, the fact that I don't think it's overstating it, Charlie, to you, to say if Hillary Clinton had been president, we wouldn't have pulled our team out of Wuhan. So for them to now go, if it did leak from a Chinese lab, it's Joe Biden's fault? Right?
Well, first of all, I don't deny the possibility. I mean,
of course.
I mean, it's entirely possible that it did leak out of the lab. I don't think anybody believes that that's out of the realm of possibility.
Right. No, it's not.
What people were arguing against was Tom Cotton saying it might have been a deliberate bioweapon attack.
Right.
Thank you.
Which is ignorant. And second of all, these three guys work full time with coronavirus.
Yes.
So the idea that they would come down with symptoms is not that far out of the realm of possibility.
Well, also, Charlie, they like to keep.
What they're doing is they're giving the crazy people another little bit of crazy to believe.
Right. But Charlie, the point is the point that you just said. I want to make sure we're clear on this, is because they want to play gotcha with. Oh, Dr. Fauci was wrong. It is not inconsistent that it jumped from a species. It's not inconsistent. It can still have been that, but it was what they were working on in the lab. So whether it came from a wet market or, like you say, it infected someone in the lab, that's what they were working on. It still comes from a species to a human. They were studying coronavirus, as you were saying.
Wet market, by the way, is one of those phrases that sounds a lot dirtier than it actually
is. Yes. It seems like WAP, but it's not about that at all.
I hear there are a lot of people who are back on the wet market now that have been vaccinated.
Yeah. Wait, is that a thumbs up for audio?
Yes, Sean has audio now.
All right, let's walk down memory lane with me, Charlie.
Can I tell my wet market joke again?
No, we heard. Okay.
You trust that we're going to know everything we need to know from China?
I do. I have a great relationship with President Xi. We're working very closely with China and other countries, and we think it's going to have a very good ending for us. We're working with China, just so you know, and other countries very, very closely, so it doesn't get out of hand. We are coordinating with the Chinese government and working closely together. No, China's working very hard. We're working with them. You know, we just sent some of our best people over the World Health Organization.
Do you see the data China has been sharing with the United States has been helpful?
I think it has been helpful. We've been working very much with China. I wish they could have told us earlier about what was going on inside. We didn't know about it until it started coming out publicly. China was very secretive, okay? Very, very secretive. And that's unfortunate. But I'm a little upset with China, I'll be honest with you. They should have told us about this. And I did ask him whether or not we could send some people in. They didn't want that, WHO. But the fact is that I have heard for years that is very much biased toward China.
They said that some of our soldiers caused the problem. We're saying, what soldiers? What are you talking about?
Russia, Iran, and China are going through a sophisticated disinformation campaign, essentially blaming us.
Every country does it, but they build it up into some. We handle that, and they probably handle it, but countries do that.
As to whether or not their numbers are accurate.
Should I be
I'm
responding
not
to
an
any of
accountant
this,
from
or
China.
should I just...
Okay, I think I've had enough. Okay,
Yes,
so
that's-
I mean, Charlie,
Listen to my-
he was the only one saying they're being very transparent. I believe them. It's handled. It's all. I mean, okay. So anyway,
Well, he had at least one television network backing him up too. I mean, that's
yeah,
yeah. No, there will be no reckoning for what he said previously. Now we have the crazy du jour, which is that he was right all along. It was the Chinese,
right.
in some capacity.
But how infuriating is it? He's the one that pulled our people out. Why? Because Obama did it. So he had to undo everything. So he pulled our people out of Wuhan. And then he's like, oh, no, we want to send them back in and they won't let us. It's like, it wouldn't have happened in the first place if they... Go ahead.
We have a poll now in which 53% of the Republican respondents said they believe he's still the president.
Yes.
Now, at that point, nothing should surprise us. Because whether or not these people are saying it because they believe it, or they're saying it because it gives them, entry into the cult, it doesn't matter anymore. It's the poison in the bloodstream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, from that, all this other stuff becomes plausible.
And by the way, you wrote a piece about the truth about January 6th will be preserved in the trials, not Congress. Yeah, you were quoting the speeches from the morning were overtly preaching the election was not over. There was a path to victory through decertification. There was a plan to delay the decertification by the House and Senate, and then state legislatures would convene and certify the right result. The crowd at the Ellipse was asked by President Trump to walk to the Capitol to give our Republicans, the weak ones, the kind of pride and boldness they need to take back our country. I mean, it just goes to how absolutely planned this was. Charlie, they had T-shirts pre-printed. This was not some sort of spontaneous. And you just said more and more, I believe the only way the truth about the insurrection is going to survive is through the various trials of people who are accused of engaging in it. Politics is inadequate to the task. It sure seems like that this morning, doesn't it?
It's getting less adequate to the task by the day. Now it looks like they're not even going to have a commission.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
we're going to talk to Ted Lieu in just a bit.
I don't know that you can get 10. I don't know that you can get 10 senators.
Yeah.
To overcome the filibuster and agree to a commission.
Yeah.
I count and I get 4.
Yeah. And I don't listen.
I don't know what's optimistic.
I don't know what's going on with.
That's including Mitt Romney being true to his word,
Right?
Which is always a long shot.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what's going on with DOJ. We're going to talk to Barb McQuaid and Ted Lieu in just a bit about this. The partial.
Oh, you got a heavyweight panel today.
Yes. But what is it called? A partial, what are they calling it? Appeal? So I don't know, but I certainly hope Merrick Garland will appoint a special prosecutor for January 6th. I mean, I don't want to rush to judgment on what's going on with the Barr memo, but as Glenn Kirshner said, a corrupt pardon like Manafort can and should be challenged. This is all one story, Charlie, that is culminated in January 6th, and that now is ongoing. In Arizona and elsewhere.
Honestly, I hate to push back on Mama there, but I think January 6th and the attempt to overturn the election should be put in its own jar. I mean, yes, it was the most intensely corrupt administration, since Caligula. Okay, everybody knows that, but the stuff on January 6th was a crime. Separate,
yes,
and it may have been driven by the same dynamics that drove all the other crimes, but to me it's different. To me, it's far more serious than whether or not Paul Manafort bought a pardon or whether or not he was pardoned because he would keep his mouth shut or lie to the FBI.
Well, you're right. I agree with you.
It's another order of magnitude.
Well, I mean, you're right. That was about stealing the election originally in 2016, but you're right. 2020
it was about a forcible coup d'etat.
Right. 2020 is about the overthrow of democracy in America. It is about us not being Belarus. So I agree with you. I agree with you. It belongs in a separate bucket. It's just, you're right. It's so hard. There is so much criminality that to separate it is. Anyway, and you just said the Liz Cheney bandwagon goes off the cliff. Here we go. As you always, you are so good, Charlie, at documenting. This Republican Party didn't come out of nowhere. Liz Cheney is still not our friend. You said, voter suppression and the grand lie of voter fraud are now central to the Republican plan to win elections. And Liz Cheney is, wait for it, still a Republican, right? It's still going to, be fine with all that.
She doesn't have any problem with the law. She has to look at the individual laws in each state to see whether or not they're actually voter suppression. Well, that's a crock. They were all proposed at virtually the same hour, and they all have absolutely the same effect.
And they're all built on the big lie.
Hold down, which is the hold down participation by inconvenient voters who made the big lie a lie, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Who made the big lie necessary.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's it can be. It's a little.
Now they're going to have one of these phony audits in Georgia. They're going to have one in Wisconsin, which wasn't even close.
Right.
Right.
And Charlie, we're going to see how far.
Why not have one in Massachusetts?
California.
Yeah. Oh, well, wasn't that part of the theory that he won California?
In 2016, yeah.
Yeah, that was 16, I think.
Yeah, that was 16.
Right.
Busloads and C-47s full of illegal, undocumented immigrants coming in to vote.
Yeah.
See, in Massachusetts, we just had the busloads that went up to New Hampshire.
Right.
But Charlie, you're right. We're not even to the next phase of this. As we know, we don't know what cyber ninjas did to the ballots. I mean, are we going to cross a point, since we've already crossed every Rubicon? Are we going to be at a point where they're like, oh no, Trump won? See, because we don't know what they did to the ballots. Like, they can't use those machines anymore. We don't know what they did to the actual ballots. I mean, are we at that point where they're going to go, oh no?
Are the voters in places like Arizona going to get tired of paying for this nonsense?
Thank you.
They're the ones who are going to have to pay for the new voting machines.
I know.
They're the ones who have to pay for all these lawsuits that are futile.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was saying,
I don't understand why nobody can make the case that the Republican Party is wasting your money on its private lunacy.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess owning the libs is more powerful.
That's it.
Right. Than anyway.
That's it.
All right. Charlie, love you. Say goodbye to your lover.
Oh, goodbye, Jody Hamilton. And I'd like to thank the former president for eating up my entire segment.
Sorry about that. We love you, Charlie. See you next week.
Bye-bye,
Charlie.
See you next week.
All right. Bye-bye. 48 minutes after the hour. Why, Sean? What's that? If you have not heard of the Sexy Liberal Podcasting Network, your podcasting superstation, you suck. I mean,
Yes.
it is. We have the smartest, funniest liberals in the country. Stephanie Miller's Happy Hour. We have John Fugelsang. We have Hal Sparks, Frangela, Final Word, and Idiot of the Week. We have Bob Seska. Oh my God. We have Jody Hamilton from The Bunker. We have Start Me Up with Kimberly Johnson. We have Unprecedented. We have the smartest, funniest podcast, period. Get it now. SexyLiberal.com.